Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I welcome you back to the most exciting chess tournament of the year, the World Rapid and World Blitz Championships. These take place right after Christmas Day, annually, generally held December 26th to 30th, and the 2025 edition is in Doha. It's in Qatar, and last year it was in New York. They knew they needed to get as far away from me as possible, so I was not involved. Last year they came to New York City, and it was a drama fest. It started with Magnus Carlsen struggling in the rapid and ultimately being removed from the competition for a round because he wore jeans. And then he said F you to FIDE and left the tournament, but then he came back to play the World Blitz. But then he said he was not going to play any FIDE tournaments anymore, and then they had to split the title, and it was really unclear if Magnus was going to play this year. But he is. And actually, as of like 3 days ago, so was Alireza Firouzja, who is the second best player in the world, third best player in the world, tied with Hikaru for this distinction of the best speed player in the world. Now, Hikaru's not playing in this tournament. That's just how the world works, you know. He is a new dad, and I guess he's not trying to fly halfway across the world to play some Rapid and Blitz. And so for this video, I will take you through some of the matchups, including an incredible story of somebody who, just in case you're confused, this is not me. I am not Goutham Krishna. That's not me. Just a fun fact. But we will cover this individual as well. I've got a bunch of games for you. And as always, it is the Magnus Carlsen show. You best believe he's going to be on the thumbnails for the next 5 days. He kicks things off with the move pawn to d4, and his opponent is somebody you might remember. This is Lorenzo Lodici, who just was a World Cup sensation, knocking out many players along his rampage. And, here we go. Knight to f6. We have c4, e6, knight f3, d5, knight c3, and black plays the knight b to d7. Queen's Gambit declined. The time format of the World Rapid Championship is 15-minute chess with a 10-second bonus. White plays the move bishop g5. It's one of the most critical and combative options, and then white will decide, will he take on d5, will he play queen to c2, put this bishop out, etc. Lodici plays bishop e7, Magnus develops in the center, plays queen c2, and now a very principled move, pawn to c5, striking in the center. After a little series of exchanges, and then another trade on c5, Lodici basically is banking on the fact that he is going to win this pawn back and make things not so simple for Magnus to prove that he has an advantage. And to be honest with you, he's kind of right. Like, the structure is symmetrical. He just needs to develop his light-scored bishop. He needs to put his rooks in the middle of the board. And the computer thinks the position is totally equal. So, how is Magnus going to show that he's 28-24 and his opponent, despite being a grandmaster, is rated 330 points lower than him in Rapid? You talk about a crazy distinction. We have b6, knight b5, offering a trade of queens. Magnus very good at timing this seemingly innocuous and harmless decision to trade your most powerful piece. He's very good at kind of timing it and asking some important questions in the position. But overall, I think black is doing completely fine. Bishop to d3, Lodici, absolutely no problems here. In fact, for a little moment there, he was up like 5 minutes on the clock against Magnus. I don't know where all his time went. I don't know why he spent 3 minutes playing this move, but I think this is a little bit of the Magnus effect. Maybe he couldn't believe how decent his position was. Magnus plays knight d4, and now Lodici begins the process of trying to get these pieces out of the middle of the board. But there is a tactical situation that arises. All of a sudden, from 10 minutes, in a span of like literally 4 or 5 moves, he's down to 2 minutes, as he is feeling the pressure against this queen side. The position actually is still equal, but not after you trade the light-scored bishops. The right move here was to sacrifice the rook. And if pawn takes, there would have been bishop takes. And if rook takes d4, bishop takes a6, there would have been rook a4. If Lodici watched this channel more, rook takes d4 would have probably come to mind. I hate to say it. He also probably would be like 1600 rated and not a grandmaster, but that's besides the point. Instead, he goes this way, but now Magnus is able to glue the 7th rank shot and begin pushing those queenside pawns. Rook c7, rook c8 check, a very nice simplification process. It looks like after knight b4, knight b6, knight a2, the game is simply a draw. Problem is he has no intention of playing knight b6. He's going to go here, and black is going to lose his pawn, and lo and behold, he is left with literally the worst possible pawn to defend. It's an outside pass pawn, and there are 2 knights defending it. 2 knights and a king. The 2 worst pieces that you could try to use to defend an outside pass pawn, and on top of that, Magnus Carlsen now has created a potential outside pass pawn on the other side of the board. So just a nightmare fuel here, as the A pawn and the G pawn ultimately, or the F pawn, will promote. Lodici could have defended this position for 40 extra minutes, 40 extra moves, but he ultimately resigns and respects the playing ability of one Magnus Carlsen. Lodici on day 1 after this went on to win 3 games. So clearly inspired again, after playing Magnus, and clearly in good form, wins a couple of games, including against Alireza Krishna, who is a 2700 caliber player. Now, I have more Magnus Carlsen chess to show you, because really the World Rapid and Blitz is the Magnus Carlsen show. It's like putting a snake into a cage with mice and waiting for the snake to eat them, and the mice cannot do too much. All right, that's just simply how it works. In this round, he's playing David Paravyan. Paravyan, very strong online player, very strong over-the-board player, and actually helps Andrei Yesipenko, as Yesipenko recently disclosed. Yesipenko, of course, recently made it to the candidates tournament via the World Cup and said, Paravyan and he have worked together. In this game, Magnus played a Taiman of Sicilian with queen c7. Paravyan showing good opening preparation, as always. Knight b5, some new modern idea, and then f4. And then, you'll notice that Magnus just doesn't even target this knight until Paravyan plays f4 and g4. Some super aggressive stuff here in the Taiman of Sicilian. Knight goes back to d4, and ultimately we just get a super scrappy opening where we have this massive series of exchanges, and as the queen is hanging and this bishop is hanging, Paravyan's like, I'm not going to let you take with the queen. I'm going to check your king, so your king has to stay in the center of the board. Very creative stuff here from him. His king also has to move, but it's better positioned than black's king, because queen h3 check is a fork. Black's king certainly weaker. Paravyan in this game, in fact, had a moment here. He could have tried to grab an exchange. He could have tried to grab the rook on a8, but kind of in an insane turn of events, this would be a mistake. Apparently, black has very good chances against this king now. I mean, just a mutual game of moving kings into the middle of the board while the children are watching. And Magnus sacrifices the bishop for the knight. Now it's kind of an endgame, but it's hardly an endgame. I mean, if anything, it feels like a tactical shootout. Rook e7, queen e8, Magnus bringing all the pieces forward. And in the time trouble, Paravyan allows Magnus's queen to get a little bit too active for her own good. And then on top of that, he decides that he should blunder checkmate, which is certainly a bad thing. He plays e takes d5. The only move here that would have kept the balance is e5. Had he played e5, he actually might have drawn the game. I don't want to insult Magnus's intelligence. I don't know if he watches these recaps. Or maybe Ella does. I don't know. But I don't want to insult her and tell her, oh, it's just easy. You make a draw e5. e5, the computer wants black to trade the queen and play an endgame. But e d5, well, it's very few things are good when you lead with ed, and queen e2, yeah, king c3, rook e3, king b4. You lose here in a variety of ways. One of them is that your queen is lost, but perhaps more importantly, it's mate in 1. That's just mate. And Magnus moves to 2 out of 2. Yeah, look, these types of games are the games it takes to win at this level. I mean, at this level, players who are 25, 70 and rapid, they're getting advantages from the opening. Chess is so hard now. You have to battle back constantly. With black, every game needs to be a scrap. There are no easy ways to win with black. Winning with black is impossible in a smooth way. You have to do it in an ugly way, generally. You have to get into a really, really nasty fight. I'm going to keep showing you Magnus games. The whole recap is not Magnus games. After this, I'm going to show you Goutham, my Indian relative. Not really. Then I'm going to show you Hans Niemann. I'm going to show you Grischuk versus MVL. Alireza Firouzja is playing. Artamev is playing. We pop over to the women's section. Jujiner, who is just having an unbelievable year, is playing. We got Nihal. We got Sina Movahed. We have Gukesh. We have many, many other players. One more Magnus game for the road. Here he's playing Eduardo Iturrizaga, very strong grandmaster. D4, knight f6, playing again very solid Queen's Gambit. D4, C4, knight f3. This is the way to get a game nowadays. If you play D5 and knight C3, there is the symmetrical Queen's Gambit. I'm sure Magnus has something prepared there. Instead, we have this. This is called the Bogo Indian defense. Knight D2. And now the next thing is insane. I would never play like this, but it is a way to play. Instead of taking the knight, because otherwise you would get your bishop trapped, Iturrizaga plays bishop to e7. This is a way to play, and then black just plays really solidly. Like after e4, black just plays d6, but I don't know how anybody does this. Like you have such a lack of space. Magnus develops his bishop. Iturrizaga now plays knight f to d7 with the intention to play e5 or c5. Both of these ideas are pretty decent. Magnus now plays knight f1. This is definitely not a move, according to the database, but he's just trying to take the game into original territory. Pawn takes d4, knight takes d4, and black plays a6, and white castles. So this is the position, yeah? Now, what do we have here? We have immediately, you notice the pawn structure. White has a little bit more space and a queenside majority. This knight is not doing anything on the f5 square, but it could do something on the h5 square. Then it's a question of where we're putting these bishops, where we're putting the rook, where we're putting the queen. Let's let Magnus do the work, and we just watch. Bishop e3, knight to f6. Okay, solid, everything. Not nice, 2 pawns, 2 knights, pawn, yep. b4, okay. The bishop goes to d7. Magnus plays rook c1, improving the rook, all understandable. And now f4. I mean, basically, he's like, if I can take space on every side of this board, I will. Pawn to f4, rook e8, knight back to b3. Normal, he doesn't want to trade. Maybe he wants to advance on the queen side. Black is kind of waiting. He's not doing a whole lot. Finally, Magnus makes a lunge for it, and Iturrizaga mistimes his reaction. And now, in this position, white is just much better. Magnus now will go on to convert this position, despite not being a pawn up. It feels like he is, because of just all the pressure on the black position. He's actually totally winning. But at this point, I need to give some credit to Iturrizaga, because despite all of the early pressure and the clear pawn advantage and the 2-pawn pushing on the queen side, Iturrizaga actually made Magnus slip up. He got here, and black is actually not doing horribly here. Although the way to keep this position in the balance is very strange. You have to start playing moves like king h8, kind of like waiting moves, getting out of the way, of the f-file, maybe playing f6 and activating the light-scored bishop on this diagonal. It's weird. It's weird, and it really never truly feels like you're back in the game as Magnus rebuilds his advantage. Of course, you're in a scramble, but Iturrizaga here also sacrificed material to try to stabilize this endgame. And here, apparently, the computer thinks rook c5 is a draw. I mean, I don't know if this is some sort of low-depth nonsense, but after rook c8, the computer thinks you can actually draw this position and black can set up what's called a fortress, which is crazy. Basically, in a fortress, like here queen e8 would just win a pawn, but in a fortress you do something like this, and there is no way to break through this position for white. Like, Magnus could have blundered into a fortress. Whether he would have broken this fortress apart is a whole separate story, but basically there's no way to break apart these pawns. Like white can push the pawns, and so will black, and then black would set them up in a way that you can never get past the defense. The king can never get past, and neither can the pawns. Yeah, but losing a queen in an endgame is not what everybody wants to do. Actually, I think this happened. This actually happened. But it was not defended in the right way. And also, maybe it was just frankly not defendable to begin with. But yeah, here it was considered equal, and then here, I think already things have gone slightly wrong. I think here black had to play h5. He just had to sack a pawn, and the idea is that after h5, you know, gh, rook a6, you lose 2 pawns, but this position is a fortress. Now, even if you don't win the queen, this position is a fortress. This is a draw for black. Okay. Right? Like, you just, what? But yeah, Iturrizaga did not hold the fortress the best way, and Magnus walked his king to the outskirts of the board, brought it back to the middle, and this is just winning, because you will now break in. You'll play queen d4, queen c3, etc. Wherever the rook moves, like if it goes to it can't go anywhere, and here you can even sack for it, which is pretty nice. So Iturrizaga was close, but unfortunately no cigar. Now, before we look at another Magnus game, we got to look at a Goutham game. Goutham Krishna, somebody has to tell me how to say, is it Goutham? This dude is a sensation. Here's one of his games in this tournament where he opens with b3 against Timur Rajabov, who is a legendary player, and plays just a very straightforward kind of like ready Catalan type of thing, you know, and trades a bunch of pieces, and just develops his piece, playing like Magnus, you know, typical, you know, knight f3, rook a2, just improving his position. Now, white is Wait a minute. Rook a7. There was knight d4 here you could have gone, but knight d4 there would have been queen d5, counterattacking. And, you know, he just plays against the isolated c-pawn. Queen b2, solid. You know, black just slightly worse because the c-pawn is bad. You know, Rajabov trying to defend himself. Excellent time management, by the way, by the 2390 rated player. For reference, I think my FIDE Rapid rating is 2350. Dude is 40 points higher rated than me in FIDE Rapid. And he just completely out. There was not even a peep from black. The game is over. He just wins. Why is this game over? Because white is just threatening bishop a7. And you cannot stop bishop a7. Rajabov's pieces are miserable. Miserable. The game ended as I just clicked through a bunch of moves. 98% accuracy win with white. Krishna has 4 out of 5 points. Listen to the day that he had. He beat Alexander Indic. You might have no idea who that is. Serbian Grandmaster. He beat Arvind Chidambaram, who's a former top 10 player in the world from India. He beat Timur Rajabov. He drew Grischuk and he drew Giri. 5 games, he's undefeated. He might never have a day like this again. He performed at 2965 today. His rating is 2392. He's an IM. He's from India. He's the under 15 national champion. Before this tournament, if you weren't from India, you have never heard of him before. I've never heard of him before. If you're not from India, you don't know who this is. Well, now you do. Welcome to the big stage. I love the stories in these tournaments as well. Like you just discover, bro, he doesn't even have a picture on chess.com. The next recap, somebody better put a picture of him in chess.com player base. All right, he deserves it. Now, we're going to keep going. I mean, he just had an incredible day. I think Rajabov on day 1 had 2.5 out of 5 after he lost this game. He lost and drew another game. It definitely tilted him. Definitely. Now, we're going to keep going. Hans Niemann is in the tournament. All right? And then we're going to pop back over and look at a couple more Magnus games. Hans Niemann, you know, that last game that I just showed you was a nice one. Here he's playing Dimitris Alexakis. Please, if you don't have a picture in the chess.com database, you deserve one. White went for a Sicilian sideline, trying to restrict black's play a little bit in the opening. Hans reacted very nicely, pushed this pawn to a4, jumped the knight into the middle, into the d4 square, looking very juicy. Got the bishop pair, and black made one beneficial structural trade. And now we'll basically play the rest of the game over here, and maybe consider this pawn break f5. So basically, Hans is going to try to outplay his opponent with b5 and f5. All right? Right on cue, there it is. Maybe f5 will come a little bit later, but there's the queen side pressure. He's playing very quickly, trusting his intuition. Bishop b5, queen c8. Okay, so white went g4 and stopped f5, but now it's simply too late on this side of the board, because here comes b3, you have to lose the bishop, but queen c2, and pawn takes, and Hans Niemann just somehow made a queen. Like in the middle of the game, he just... And the reason I recapped this game in literally 3 minutes is because, I mean, what more do you want? Like, he played a Sicilian defense. He played it completely flawlessly. White tried to play an anti-Sicilian setup. And Hans was like, okay, so I'm just going to push this pawn. And that's literally what he did. He just pushed the B pawn, and it became an A pawn, and it won him the game. White never got going. I mean, he stopped f5, but the queenside breakthrough was absolutely vicious. Hans Niemann on day 1, undefeated, 3 wins, 2 draws. He beat Kirill Klukin, you don't know who that is. He drew Karthik Venkataraman, who's an Indian grandmaster. He also drew somebody named Meng Yihan from China. Never heard of this individual, 2350 international master who had a great day. And then he beat Marco Materia from France. Yeah, he has 4 out of 5. I mean, obviously, we have many, many more games to go. But he also had a pretty solid day. Now, we will pop over to Magnus. After winning the first 3 rounds, he got paired against David Anton, who I think he just won the Spanish national championship, probably for like the 50th time, because I don't know who else can contend with him over there. I guess they have Vallejo, but I don't know how much he plays now. And I guess they have Shirov, right? Is Shirov still representing Spain? Anyway, I think David Anton just won the Spanish championship. And if I'm spreading misinformation, that's literally what the internet is for. Nobody fact checks anything anymore. But do fact check that. I think David Anton won. He plays Magnus, knight f3, b3. Yeah, this is like, look, when you don't play real openings against Magnus, he is delighted, okay? He wants to play some weird stuff. And weird stuff we have. We got 4 bishops in the corners. We got the We got the 1, 2, 3, 4, fou, right? This is the 4 fou. I don't know how to say opening. Doesn't matter, all right? Gambit, knight d7, knight d2, takes. Okay, well, 2 of the bishops have died. Castles, c4, e5. All right, now we got this like confrontational struggle in the center of the board. cb5 looking like it wins a pawn. Black kind of opening up the position here. cb5, Magnus striking in the center with pawn takes d4. David Anton playing bishop takes d4. Very, very combative game right now. Pawn takes b5. It looks like you can win this pawn. What is Magnus's idea if he just takes it? Okay, the bluff has been called. The call has been bluffed. Here comes c5. There is nothing. He just goes here. He just plays d5. That's always really scary. When Magnus just gives you a pawn and then just does nothing in the position, he just plays c5, d5. This is one of the hardest skills in chess. To sack a pawn and have nothing clear for it, just like a good position. Magnus obtained this skill after learning how to play the Catalan with white. Hot take. Just being able to lose a pawn and just play, not easy. Not an easy skill at all, you know? And now immediately white blunders, by the way, because he allows, you know, his queen gets stranded on the outskirts of the board. Here he had to play like queen d3, but by blocking up his position, he allows Magnus a little bit of an initiative here, and now Magnus is just really, really putting the pressure. This bishop is quite bad. The white knight in the center of the board, difficult to defend. Knight b6. This move had to defend this pawn, but now comes knight b6, knight d5, knight e3, and c4 as well, looking like Hans Niemann here with the queenside pawn play. Knight c4 incoming, and despite being a pawn down, Black's position is absolutely ruthless, and David Anton cannot defend himself. In comes a crushing blow to the body, f5, rook e2. Not only did he win his pawn back, he got the interest and he burned down the storefront, all right? We got a Norwegian mafioso on our hands, all right? David Anton should have paid the loan back faster. d3, it's the same as the Hans game. Like a pawn just walks into the position. The rook is hanging. You have to play rook b1. d2, you can't even move the bishop because I'm going to take it. The bishop is literally trapped. And so is knight e3. David Anton plays one more move and resigns because this is the most ruthless beatdown that Magnus has given anybody yet. Look at this. And this all started because he literally just gave him a pawn and David Anton made one bad move. He made one bad move. His queen was attacked. His knight was attacked. He had to make this move. His knight was attacked. His queen was attacked. His pawn structure was attacked. He had to trade the queens. And then Magnus attacked his knight. And then Magnus took his pawn. And then he went d3 and Yo. After David Anton made one mistake, Magnus Carlsen ruthlessly attacked him for 12 straight moves. Like, there was no, you couldn't do anything. It was like a 12-punch combination and a kick and an elbow, you know, for good measure. Like, this is crazy. Like, you don't see beatdowns like this. Just absolutely ruthless. 4 for 4. And that sets us up for our final battle of the day, which we will take a look at in a moment. I would like to preface a little bit of this. First, we have some other games. We have Firouzja versus Stelios Halkias. I'm shocked there's not like former names. I'm shocked his name is not like Stelios, Athanasios, you know, like, but Halkias, okay. Both only Greeks and Latvians, or maybe also Lithuanians. Your name is constantly plural. There's an S at the beginning of both names. So you're playing multiple people. It's really not fair. Alireza Firouzja, the player, the star of the Global Chess League, and also a person who accepted to play this tournament like 3 days ago, literally. He was not even supposed to be announced. This was a very fun game. This was an anti-Sicilian. Rossalimos always lead to very fun games. Like, what on earth is happening here? Knight to f3. We have a trade, knight f6. You know, white plays king h1. Alireza does not need many opportunities to create an attack in a game and give him 5 moves, and black is going to be getting absolutely battered. First, we move the knight to a4 to put pressure on the pawn on c5. Black makes a defensive move. We bring the queen to attack the king. There it is. Black still looks like he's defending. Alireza takes in the center of the board. Not the best move, but the wrong recapture by black. Knight to h4. 2 knights on the edges of the board. We're looking at rook e1. We're looking at knight f5. Alireza's conjuring up his attack. The knight goes to f5. Black still defending himself. Yeah. Now you lose, because c5 hangs and h6 hangs. And just in a span of 5 moves, he's like a sushi chef. Just done. Prepared the perfect meal. Takes the pawn on c5. Now white is attacking, plus has the opposite colored bishops, which benefit the attacking player. And on top of that, this bishop just gets trapped in the center of the board, because when you move it, I simply, I can take on f8 actually, but I have other moves. But yeah, knight h4, the bishop's just trapped, like it's getting hunted in the middle of the board. You're threatening to take the knight and then take the bishop, and the bishop finally moves, and Alireza plays this move, and that's it. He gets another pawn, he gets the bishop, he gets another pawn, he's up 3 pawns, you can't take the queen, and he wins a 4th pawn, and he has a 9-minute time advantage. Now, despite this absolute obliteration, Alireza, this is the only game he won on the first day. He made 4 draws. Which is not good. He has some catching up to do in the second day. But yeah, rough day for him. But he's going to look to bounce back, at least, I would hope. Now, let's take a look at Magnus, and let's set the stage for the final standings, because every game that I will show you from this point forward leads to the final standings of the day. So, Magnus versus Erigaisi, the only players that have 4 out of 4 in their first 4 rounds. We have another Queen's Gambit declined, and for the second time, we have the Queen's Gambit declined with Knight BD7. Look at that. Magnus plays the same line, Bishop G5, Bishop B4, E3, C5. This is very normal. I actually play like this with black myself, Bishop B4, C5. Maybe we have even the same opening file. Queen A5, Knight D2. This is actually the exact position in my notes, which is kind of amazing. It's cool that me and Arjun Erigaisi are playing the same openings. Hopefully he doesn't know that. And now, from the opening, it's actually Magnus who has a small edge here with Queen G4. He doesn't play it. And now we have this. So Magnus is down a pawn, actually. If you count the material, black is a pawn up, but he's going to probably lose one of these pawns. But from the opening, it is a 7-minute time advantage nearly for Arjun Erigaisi. Clearly, Magnus not having the best time playing this position, but we have this. Now, you look at this position, and for most players, it's like, okay, this is probably just going to be a draw, because you each have 4 pawns. Now, in a worst-case scenario, you have, this pawn going to be lost, and then you win what's called a 4-on-3. Now, if you're like under 2400, you should just play this position forever. At this level, probably nobody is going to win this with white unless your name is Magnus. So he's going to try. He's going to try. He's going to try. I'm always very curious how he's going to create winning chances. There it is. There's the 4-on-3. Arjun gives up the pawn and is just going to defend this position. Magnus is going to slowly try to make progress despite having no time on the clock. Rook F1, Rook F2. Okay, Rook E2, King E7. Where's the aforementioned progress that we were... Oh, Magnus finds an idea. He runs in with the king, gives up the pawn, and plays F4. And he's threatening F5. It's actually not an easy position to defend, because once he gets F5, he's probably going to get G6, or at the very least, he's going to get H5, and then he has some serious winning chances. Arjun only has one defensive move here. That's it. King F8, and he finds it. He finds this move. But what's the idea after E6? With the pawn here and the king here. That just looks like a huge mistake. The idea was you baited Magnus into playing this move, and now you come back. King to E7. A lot of people would have been like, oh man, he finally did it against me too. He's going to beat me in an endgame like he beats everybody else. Not Arjun Erigaisi. Arjun knows this is an endgame. He has enough experience playing Magnus. He knows what Magnus is going to do. King F8, King E7, King back to F8, and the game is a draw. Despite in this position, it looks like he's going to lose every pawn. He is going to lose the pawns, but Rook and F and H versus Rook is a draw. I know this is unfathomable. If these pawns are connected together, literally anywhere, it's winning. As long as the pawns are together, it's winning. Even if they're 2 apart in the center of the board, it's a win. But when it's A and C or F and H like this, it's a draw. There's actually a drawing technique. It generally involves putting the rook on the opposite corner and being quick with your counterplay this way and this way. But obviously, in practical terms, it's extremely difficult to defend this endgame. Unless your name is Arjun freaking Erigaisi, because he proceeds to defend this endgame like an absolutely, he probably had to... The thing is, when Magnus is in your generation and he's playing you constantly, you have to constantly defend these endgames against him. Here's a great example. You now have to find the only defensive move here in this type of setup. And he does. He plays rook b8 check, and white can't escape the checks. It takes Arjun 101 moves, but he draws the game and ends the day tied for first with Magnus. Excellent hold by him. Great play. And that means that everybody in the 3.5 score group can now catch these boys. So let's take a look at who is in the 3.5 point score group. Grischuk, multiple-time World Blitz champion, one of the best speed players in the world, and MVL, who is a literal World Blitz champion, and not in like a fake way, because there were ones where I think Magnus didn't even play, if I'm not mistaken. But he actually won one where Magnus did participate. Najdorf Sicilian, as always, and here Grischuk plays A3, one of these new mysterious cutting-edge moves you can play. E5 and D5 coming in from MVL. Bishop G5, this is all cutting-edge stuff. Pawn takes. You notice Grischuk playing very quickly. Queen H5, Knight D2, and getting a very nice setup, but giving away a pawn. This is very, very combative position. Bishop E4, now he offers a queen trade, does MVL. Grischuk clearly goes, you know, as we see, from 16 minutes down to like 6. Clearly something has gone wrong. Maybe a mix of like better preparation on the side of MVL, or I don't know, something. I don't know anything about this position, so I'm not going to pretend. It is quite clear here that black is getting the best of white, like on the dark squares. White's light squared bishop not doing a whole lot. And when black castles, this is a typical position that Maxime would love to get. King to E7, beautiful play here. Rook is going to G8, that's an automatic. Rook could also be going to C7 and to C8 or to B8 and then pushing these pawns forward. This king is completely safe. King is living behind the barrier there in the middle of the board. Rook G8, Queen H2 grabbing a pawn. Why not? You might win every single endgame now. And Bishop E. Oh, what a move! Disconnecting the queen from the bishop, disconnecting that's it. Just the queen from the bishop. I was saying, if anything, threatening the pawn on F2, reconnecting these two pieces. Yeah, just an absolutely thunderous performance from Maxime Vacher-Lagrave, who is going to be up 2 pawns in this endgame, and only 1 pawn, but this is winning. The difference of this endgame and the other endgame up 2 pawns is that the king and rook were defending, and here this king is not defending, completely cut off. The king and the pawn will just walk forward. The white rook cannot stop them. Grischuk resigns. He doesn't even play this position, because if the rook comes back, black is going to play F5, and even if you go run over here, and even if I let you win the pawn, even if all this happens, I'm just going to make a queen. You do not have enough time to stop my pawn. MVL 4.5 out of 5. His first day, beat an Italian IM named Nicola Altini, beat a GM Andrew Hong, drew Grandmaster Pichot, beat Grandmaster Enriquez, the Chilean Grandmaster, and beat Grischuk. 4 wins out of 5. Another player who is always at the top of World Rapid and Blitz events, Vladislav Artamev, one of the world's most solid, positionally sound players, just an excellent player. A lot of his games, not too much happens for the first, like, 30 moves. I'm not even exaggerating. This game is a perfect example. But he is one of the world's leading experts in endgames. And watching his games will make you just purely a better player on the pressure side. I don't find his style particularly exciting because, well, you need like finesse, you need technique, you need, and I don't have any of that stuff. But he always finds a way to get it done. I just click through 35 moves. He always makes things practically challenging for his opponents. His opponent here is Rauf Mamedov, and one mistake on the 37th move leads him to win a couple of the queenside pawns and the 3rd pawn, and this game is just over. He won all his pawns and he won the game. Artemiev has a win over Zhang Zhong, who is a Chinese grandmaster. I actually thought Zhang Zhong had changed this federation to Singapore, but I guess he's back to China. Nodirbek Yakuboyev, the number 4 finisher in the World Cup. Amin Tabatabai, one of the strongest grandmasters from Iran, and Rauf Mamedov. All those players, though, are significantly weaker than Artemiev in Rapid Chess, so day 2 and 3 will show just how good and informed he is going to be. On the women's side, the world's strongest woman right now, there is a Triple Crown champ. There is Ju Wenjun from China, who is the World Rapid champion, not the defending one, but she is World Blitz champion, and she is World Classical champion. If I'm not mistaken. I don't think I'm mistaken. Humpy Konaru won the World Rapid Championship last year, but the only other player to win all 3 has been Ju Wenjun. But this year is Drew Jeaner's year because she's up to like 2560, 2570 FIDE. I think she's the number 1 rated woman in the world. And she continued her crusade in the World Rapid. The women play slightly less games. It's always been that way. There are less women in the women's section, but they also just have played less games by one or two rounds every single day. Yeah, Zhujiner, the first day, they played 4 games, and she won every single game in a variety of ways. Like, when you are winning these scrambles, these endgame scrambles, which she did against Nana Dzadnidze from Georgia, who is always at the top of the ranks. Yeah, double pawn endgame. This is a different, right? I told you, split pawns, generally always winning. Yeah, here, this is too easy. The pawns all go. The white rook cannot defend against the pawns, and rook a1 check, you sacrifice. And Zhujiner defeated Zainab Mamedyarova from Azerbaijan, Khanyam Balajayeva, also from Azerbaijan, Danielian, who's a grandmaster from Armenia, Dzadnidze, and she will play Goryachkina, who is obviously a monster. She will play Goryachkina in the next on the next day. She's the only one with 4 out of 4 on the women's side, but that one's also very close. And the last one that I will show you is Gukesh versus Sina Movahed, who obviously is an unfair player because he is literally seeing a move ahead. That is his name. From Iran, Sina, 2405 rapid is a joke. Rapid ratings in chess are a joke because these guys never play rapid tournaments. Hot take, not going to complain about everything all the time in the world of chess. But because nobody is playing rapid or blitz basically ever, all of their ratings are silly. 2405, I'm 30, 50 rapid. This dude would beat me 10-0. So, versus Gukesh, who 2692 even for him might make sense. But he also should be over 2700. Anyway, Sina has 3.5 out of 4 and beat Nihal Sarin in the previous round. So this game gets really crazy. We have a total sideline of the Najdorf Sicilian, which is perfect for rapid chess. You have like 15 minutes to figure out all of the nuances, and well, Gukesh clearly showing the nuances. He's going to put a knight on d5 at some point. There it is. He's going to play knight b3 and probably c3 at some point. There it is. And white is just dominating here. This is an excellent position. Maybe he'll play h4 as well. It's always going to be good for the structure. Maybe now you play h4. Wow. Look at me understanding chess. Knight d2. Now this knight is going to go to c4 and maybe f here. Maybe here into e3. You got to just make sure not to lose this pawn. I mean, this is a fantastic position. Now, Sina goes for counterplay here. He knows he can't just get squished. But, I mean, this is quite literally the perfect anti-Najdorf setup. The problem is, how do you win? How does Gukesh take this position, which is beautiful, and actually try to win it? Well, I'm going to be very honest, not like that. G4 immediately gives counterplay to black. Immediately. And not only that, black in a few moves is better. He's better, and Gukesh has 1 minute. So, yeah, this is the problem with rapid chess. Like, you really try to do something, and it completely backfires in spectacular fashion. But then you get into a time scramble. Gukesh continues to hunt the king. Now there is no logic to apply here whatsoever, although white still has the typical blockade. Now the boys are in super time trouble, so huge blunders are incoming. The king is hunted into the center of the board, but unlike in the previous games of this recap, yeah, here Sina, I think he messed up. He calculated here rook d2, king d2, bishop g2, but just king e2 and there's nothing. You're completely stopped. Actually, after rook d2, had he played the incredible bishop g2, he would have held the game because he would have been threatening rook f3, and then he would have been threatening to win this rook. Bishop g2 was the only move. But Gukesh made it practically very challenging, and now he's just winning because he launches the counterplay for the last time, and it's just decisive. The knight is coming in here to threaten. The bishop can go back to c8, but you play knight g2, something like king g5, knight e4 check, the king is... And you're going to lose the bishop. Gukesh, day 1, 4.5 out of 5. In the first round, he drew the Canadian star Sean Rodrigue Lemieux, who I have played before. And then he beat 4 GMs in a row. So Gukesh also having a very good day. And your standings after the first day of the World Rapid Championship are as follows. Magnus Carlsen, 4.5. Arjun Erigaisi, Maxim Vachilagrov, Vladislav Artamev, and Gukesh with 4.5. And then the fattest score group of all time of 4-pointers. It's going to be a crazy day. We got this Eldiyar Orozbayev. Is that Turkmenistan? Kyrgyzstan, of course, not Turkmenistan. Kyrgyzstan. Who is this? I've never even heard of this dude in my life. This is like, the World Rapid Championship is crazy. Who is Eldiyar Oro? First of all, can I just say, this sounds like a UFC fighter. If I was paired against Eldiyar Orozbayev, I am faking an injury. I am not fighting. Oh my goodness. Got a lot of grandmasters. Oh, got old grandmasters, new grandmasters. I mean, we got Goutham Krishna. Like, this is a story we got to keep an eye on tomorrow. It's going to be incredible. It's going to be an amazing second day. Probably expect to see some of these names at the top, even these 3.5 pointers. But yeah, it's going to be super fun. And it's good to see Magnus not having 2.5 out of 5 on the first day, you know, because that's, and not getting kicked out of the tournament for wearing jeans. That would be really nice. That's all I have for you today. You know the drill. Get out of here.